Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have our special guest, Pearl, and she is a mental fitness life coach, author, and speaker. She helps women put themselves first authentically without guilt so that they do not look back wondering where they were in their mind, body, and spirit story, becoming sheroes of their lives. Pearl provides one to one group coaching, weekly community shiro meetings, and yearly women pajama retreats. She loves empowering women to put their capes on first with the superpower of positive mindset overcoming life's challenges. She is a published author in books behind her brand, Volume 6, Behind Her Weight Loss, Success Factor, Yes, God Against All Odds, Everyday Woman Guide to the Mindset of a Successful Woman, and soon to be released, Beyond Skin Deep, Stories of Intercultural Adoptions. She has been married to Chuck for 35 years, is mom of two boys, Matt, forever 25, and Nate. Pearl has been featured in many magazines, received a day named after her in Syracuse, New York, and received the Woman of Worth Award in Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome to the show, Pearl.
Hey, Sheila, it's good to be with you finally.
Yes, thank you for being on. And I always like to start the show by asking if you could share a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Oh, wow. You want my business or personal life or both?
Whatever you want to share.
So I think this kind of goes together. So, I mean, you heard in my bio, my son is forever 25. I lost my son tragically last July 25th at 25 years old in a car accident. And, you know, that was in July. Every year I do a retreat. It's in September of every year. And so on top of all that is when I also got the award for having the city of Syracuse named after me. So all this stuff was happening all at one time. And, I sat back and I was like, do I do the retreat? My retreat is a big part of my business. It's what is the next steps for people to work with me and for women to be empowered to put themselves first. And, I decided to take a break from my business during like early part of August. I actually went and did get the award in September, end of August, beginning of September. And I came back from that with the confidence and knowing this and how hard it would be, but the strength to say to myself, Matthew saw me live my life of putting myself first, of saying yes to me and no to others. And if I was to say no at this point in my life to myself doing what is my passion, which is working with women, as you saw, to become stronger, healthier, stronger, happier, empowered, radiant, all those things, I have to go forward. And so I made the decision to do that. I could have easily said, I'm not going to do my business anymore. I'm going to crawl up in a hole, stay in bed all day. But I knew I couldn't do that because that's not what Matt and my son Nate saw me live my life every day as. And so I knew that to move forward in my personal life and also to grow my business, I had to step back into saying yes to me again, and knowing that some people that are listening to this may say, well, it's only a month, not even a month after her son passed, and she did this. It's because that's what I know in my heart I had to do. And I knew it was the right thing to do. And I knew that if I didn't do that, I wasn't honoring Matthew's memory of me while he was here with us. And so for me, that would be one of the biggest parts of my business and my personal life combined together.
Wow, that's very good that you did that. And it's very individualized. There is no right and wrong with grief for sure. I know I'm also a mom who lost a young son. Mine was 22.
Mm-hmm.
And my Michael had a heart condition. So he just went to sleep and didn't wake up. And this was something ongoing since fifth grade, but it still hit my daughter and I really hard. And we did grief counseling. And my daughter was like, I need to go to school. I need to continue my education. I need to do things for my life. That's what Michael would have wanted. And
Right.
I did my book, I did my show, and all these things. And it was like, yeah, we need to, it was almost like part of the healing process for both of us to keep active and busy and not just
Yeah.
go to bed and not get out of bed or whatever it is. And there's definitely things I struggled with for sure. And there were days and times because we went right into lockdown right after.
Oh,
And
right.
that was like, okay, now even though I want to, I can't. And I need to be with people. And there's a healing about being together in community with other people that um, that period of time made it difficult for many to just connect. And so every time I felt lonely or sad or whatever, I would say, I think I need to check on other people. And guess what? They were feeling the same way, just
Right.
lockdowns. And then by the end of a couple calls, we were laughing and talking and having fun. And it was like that's what needed to happen. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And I know, I mean, you and I have talked over Facebook and everything, and it's, this is a club that I think we both of us can agree. We don't want any parent to join us in this club. And, but we're in this club, and I tell my friends that I'm like, there's like life before the passing and there's life after the passing. It's almost like a line in the sand in some regards to, you know, everything that, like the day before Matt passed, he was here at the house. We're throwing water bottles at each other in the garage to that night, 20 minutes before he passed, we were on the telephone talking, saying we love each other. And I was like, get home safe and, those kind of things. And then there's a life after going, sometimes you just want to pick up the phone and call them and be like, hey, check on you. But you said something and, it's to reach out to other people. In July, for those that may follow us, and I know you probably saw it too, Sheila, is that one of the things that really struck home and struck a chord with me is 2 weeks, maybe at the most, after my son passed, he was in the middle of living here at home with us to moving in with his girlfriend, Brittany. So within 2 weeks of that passing, he had a young man knocked at our door. I was like, hey, is Matt home? And I had to sit down and explain to him that Matt wasn't home, that
Yeah.
Matt's gone home in a different home. And that was hard because then like a couple months, about a month after that, October timeframe, I was at a retreat that one of my friends was doing in Texas, and our Wi-Fi wasn't great. And I get this message that comes across my phone. It said, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like going, I had cellular data or something was turned on. I don't even know what I did.
Yeah.
But I was like, nothing. What's up with you? And then they're like, well, I haven't seen you gaming. And I was like, they're running Matthew. And I'm like, but I have my phone with me. And I
Wow.
was like, what the heck? Somehow or another, when I upgraded my phone to the new iPhone, his number and my number got merged together.
Oh my gosh.
So I really believe, it's a God thing. So I had to walk through her, but I can tell you about once a quarter, I get those messages. And
Yeah.
so it really struck home that I was like, how many times, like you and I could be here talking right now and tomorrow I may not be here, right?
Yeah.
So how many times has that happened? So I decided with my husband and my other son, Nate, let's do something about it. So we decided that the month of July is let's make the call for Matt. So every
Mhm.
July. And it's not just July. If anybody's listening to your listeners that are listening right now, who is that person you haven't spoken to in a while that you're like, I need to check on them? Like what you said with COVID, like you checked on them, right? And we need to do that. We need to pick up the phone and check on our loved ones, our friends, even somebody maybe you haven't talked to in a while for whatever the reason. Just pick up the phone and say, you came across my mind. And I tell everybody, don't make it a text and don't make it an email. Like let it be genuine and really check in on them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, it really makes a difference, and many times I'll pick up the phone and call someone, and they were thinking of me or, it's very common that that happens. I did have another beautiful friend, she was my manager in my stores for many years, and she passed away, and it was really interesting because I was the last person she talked to.
Mm,
But I didn't realize she passed away, and then it was like another holiday, and then we went about doing things, and then I said, "I'm gonna check on her," and her husband had taken her phone over, and so I know her husband very well, and he told me what happened, and he says, "You were the last person she talked to," but he didn't think to call me, at that
right,
time, and so it's an interesting timing thing that we were super close. So,
right.
it's almost like listen to your heart, not your mind, because our mind's like, I don't want to bother them. They might be busy. Just
Yeah.
call. I totally agree. I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear more about what you're creating.
Yes, so we are getting ready to go to our seventh annual pajama retreat. So as of right now, if you go online, you can still get tickets, but they'll be to our next year's retreat in September. But we are so excited. So these retreats came out of, I went to an event with a group of three women that were very powerful in our communities. And I was in Dallas, and one of the ladies, Stacy Shefflin, said, "Hey, you should be one of our ambassadors." So I went and I sat in this thing. It was called Women's Leadership Live. They had two of these big, huge events. And both of them I sat and I was like, this is great for that entrepreneur and that woman business owner. But I was sitting there going, this is so amazing and so uplifting. And I was like, but what about the everyday woman that works? Because I came from, a professional career before I decided of my business where, you're working all day, you're coming home and you're trying to balance life at work and life at home. Or maybe you're at home all day long and you're trying to balance kids and PTA and all that stuff that happens. And as women, we put so much on our shoulders that we forget to take care of ourselves. And I
Hmm.
was listening to these women speak and these empowering speakers that were there. And I was like, we need to do something for that everyday woman that doesn't own a business, that, is working the corporate job or is at home. So I decided to do a brunch. And when I did the brunch, Stacy came and spoke at my first brunch. And she's like, you should do a retreat. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I want to do something different. I don't want to just do a retreat, just, yes, it's got to have self-care involved in it. But what can we do to make it like get away? Like as women, we are so, so busy. And I talk about stepping into the power of the word no to others and yes to yourself so that you can do things that pour into your cup, allow you to put your cape on first. And then you can you can show up for your family, your friends, your job even better. And so we decided to do a brunch. It was a come and go brunch. Some people stayed at the hotel, some people didn't. And it was great. And we were in our PJs. There was no makeup, and our speakers had to have no makeup.
Uh-huh.
However, which is fun, but it wasn't as intimate as I wanted to. So as of the second one to today, we rent a home. We do it this year. We're in the Gulf Shores of Alabama. We've done the mountains. We've done the beach. The beach seems to resonate with us. And everybody comes, no makeup. The speakers are no makeup. We're in our pajamas the entire weekend, and we have speakers and workshops around themes. So this year's our theme is Dream Relentlessly. You know, the dream relentlessly is like, what is that definitive dream you want to do? What is the thing you want to do? And then we go through every step and build on each step of that. And
Mm.
so that when you leave the retreat, you have the tools in your toolbox to say, this is my big dream. These are my starting points. This is how I need to apply it. This is how I need to make sure I'm making progress, right? And then you create this community with women. We have amazing women. We call them your PJ sisters. And you walk with a community of women that are like, they're there to support you. Um,
Right.
last year we were 13. This year we've doubled it. Our retreat became so well known last year that we're at 26 this year. That's our max we will keep it at ever because we want to still try to keep it intimate. I have amazing, amazing ambassadors that help me. I cannot do this on my own. I have almost equal I have about 13 ambassadors to the 13 newbies that are coming. So our new PJ sisters. And it really is about walking away from your everyday life that you're having. Give yourself 3 or 4 days to have some fun, let your hair down, let your girls hang loose all weekend long, and just let us pour into you and give you the tools in your toolbox to know that you're not alone. We are not the only 26 women that are going to sit in that house that struggle with our dreams, struggle with our goals. So we want you to know, and if you're listening to us right now, you're not alone, that
Mm.
we all have that, and let us support you. And that's truly what our Shira League is about. That's what our retreats are about. Everybody who attends the retreat gets to become part of the Shira League. So every Sunday evening when I get done with you tonight, we'll be hopping on a Zoom at 8 p.m. and 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. Again, it's not recorded. It's a safe space to talk about the kids getting you mad. You got mad over making a grilled cheese sandwich, or the wins you have, like you got on a speaking stage across the country. Whatever that is for you, we want to celebrate, uplift, and make sure that you've got a support system.
Nice. Well, that's beautiful. And that's something, community is so important, especially during these interesting times. It
Right.
makes all the difference. I am super blessed to live in two beautiful communities. And as you know, I do real estate and I do consulting and teach the agents actually. And I love it. And the most important thing, whenever I bring a client to see a home, I bring them to see the community. So we'll go to the happy hour, we'll go to some of the events and meet the people, and they're not buying the home. They're buying into an entire community,
Right.
people, and the feeling that you know you're safe because we all watch out for each other and we have each other's back. And that's really hard to find, but it's everywhere. It's just a matter of knowing where to go and who to connect with. What is it? The thing about the five people in our life, our peer group is the most important. It affects every area of our life.
Right.
So it's so important to have that.
It really is. And something too on top of that, and my friend Lisa Pulliam, I love her to death. She talks about having your balcony people, right? And so I'm not talking about the balcony in an orchestra theater. I'm talking about your backyard, your lanai, your balcony. Who are those people that are on that balcony that are going to call you out when you're not doing what you should be doing? They're going to support you when you're having, all this great success, but they're going to be real with you. And so that is so important because there are five people. We need to understand that can also change.
Oh yeah.
I've gone through one of the things that Matthew saw me ebb and flow with is, and my son Nate too, is the releasing of my dad. My dad became my son Matthew. We adopted him at month old, and then we were able to have our son Nate through in vitro a few years later. And so our kids are very special to us. And my dad, when we did the list for adopting our son Matthew, he never showed up on the list of people we would be concerned with becoming a racist towards our son. We did have to release people in our friendship circle, and we knew that was going to happen, and we were okay with that because this was what we wanted.
Right.
And we wanted to protect that circle for Matthew. But my dad, I was a daddy's girl to the T. Anything you could describe a daddy's girl, that was me. And so when my dad started, as my son got older, became racist towards my son, I had to cut him out of life. And on top of that, he also treated my younger son, Nate, saying things like, I don't have grandchildren, all these things, so I had to set those boundaries. So your balcony people, they could be, your family member. And you may have to say, one thing that my priest, Father Bill, told me is that we don't get to pick our parents. God picks our parents, but we have our life roles. This is our game of life. And this has sat with me for quite a few years now, that in your life, so that the listeners that are listening, in our lives, we have those people that we want to be in the game and not be in the game. And if they're in your baseball game, we'll just use baseball for now. If they're in your baseball game and they're not doing what they need to do on the innings to have your success, then sit them on the bench.
That's
and
right.
Here's the thing. If they never, ever show up for what they need to do, they can permanently sit on the bench. It's your life, your decision. And that's what I do in everything I do. I mean, I've released a friend from me, and my son Matthew watched me go through that. And that's why I said earlier when you asked the question about, that pivotal moment, he saw me go through that with my dad and saw me release a girlfriend that, like, we did everything together. If you were to go back 2 years ago on my Facebook page, you would see us everywhere together. And so I had to release because ethically we weren't lining up again. And that was not what I wanted for my personal life. And that's not what I wanted for my friendships. And so, it's okay to make a change to those people that you have close to you.
It's very true, and it's so important. I adopted 3 children, and I have 3 of my own, and it's a very multicultural home.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, that's, what I'm like too. It's, like, very important to me and to love each other. I love and respect all my kids, but they are treated differently in society.
Yeah.
You can't even make that up. It's
No,
just the reality. And so, oh my gosh, I remember my son he went to this private school for summer to make up a class. And these kids, they had some kind of counterfeit money going on in the school all school year and in the summer. And one of the group said, here, you go buy me lunch and you can get your own lunch. And he did. And the kid gave him this counterfeit money. Well, because of his skin tone, I think they wanted to send him to juvenile hall. And I said, well, that's wonderful. As long as you're going to send all these other kids, because that's been going around since before he got here.
right.
And I said, so if not, if you're not taking everybody to juvenile hall, then you're taking nobody. And I'm calling the news and I'm going to call my 5 attorneys and we're going to see what happens
Right.
because this is not okay. And they ended
Yeah.
up, it was then actually one of the kids that went to school there, it was his family that they finally
Wow.
got like months later. I mean, my son had nothing to do with it, but it
Right.
was how can you like if there's 5 kids involved, you're only going to take the one kid that's not okay. That was,
Right. And that's so
that was
true. And we have to stand up for we have to stand up for
yeah,
our kids. And really, you know, especially the race card, and really today, and everything that's going on in this world right now, our kids, you know, one I was talking with somebody, a fellow coach, and we were talking about, you know, the challenges that our young generation's having right now. And if you think about it, you know,
yeah,
4 years ago, they're starting, it's that COVID. We're almost what, you know, getting close to 4 years. And so that that lockdown and what mentally did for it, we didn't come out with the tools to help our young generation to deal with the mental fitness of, you know, the thoughts in our heads, and what people are saying and what they see on social media isn't, you know, is not real. It's this whole gamut of that. And to step in, we have to step forward for our kids, not just race wise, but also for what you're saying, because right now, some of the things that I'm starting to see too is that, you know, the kids are acting a certain way. So let's just classify them that they've got this or they've got that.
yeah.
And I saw an amazing article today in our local paper. It's a judge that's retiring, and they used to give, he's 40 years, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he would get off his bench over the 40 years and he would sit down next to the person that was in front of him and have a conversation. And he shared, one of the stories he shared was it a young man of color that he sat down and he was like, you know, they were saying all these things, and he opened up and nobody had asked him before why. And he
Mm,
said, I have sisters in foster care. I'm worried about them. And
yeah,
so nobody was listening to them. And that's, I think, what's part of what's challenging right now as for our young is nobody's listening to them. We're not asking them the right questions. And something that I'm seeing a new trend, which I'm loving, is that even here on the news today, I think it was a national news story. They showed this little boy. I think he would, if he was 2 years old, 3 years old, maybe, but he's saying positive affirmation things. And I
yeah,
looked at my husband, I'm like, I'm so glad that parents are doing that now. You know,
right.
talking about nobody's going to treat me this way and I'm worthy of this behavior. It was so heartwarming to go, that's what we need. We need to be teaching our kids, because we're not addressing the true reasons behind bullying. We're not addressing what's going on with the bully. You know, the bully's got something going on that he's lashing out. And
Oh,
so, yeah. So I was so heartwarmed to see those two stories of here's this judge saying, what's really the reason why you're here? How can we help you?
yes.
You know, and you may have to still go and do your time or whatever that is, it's tied to it. But what can we do to give you the success coming out? You know, and I think that's something we need to remember in our life in general. Like, things happen to us. Like, I'm in the process of doing something with helping my mom move to us because she's elderly. And, you know, you and I were trying to do this before and I've had some challenges there. Well, unfortunately, I have a relative that's making some pretty strong um, things that he says he's going to do to me because I'm not this or that. Right. And
Mm,
it's around vaccines and all this stuff. But
wow.
anyway, so I was walking up the stairs after this happened, after this terrible long text I got. And I was walking up the stairs and it hit me. I'm strong enough to know that what he's saying is not valid. And I'm not allowing the energy to come into my heart or my mind, right, with those words.
Mhm.
However, it struck me as like, I had 3 people that came to my mind going, wow, I'm glad this happened to me and not to them, because I don't know how they would have responded,
Right.
right? So having that tools in our toolbox is so, so important, which is why I love to coach and work with women to say, we're going to have stuff happen to us, but let's talk about how you put boundaries around difficult situations, difficult people, or things that people are saying that you know is not factual. And you know what? It's really their stuff, not your stuff. But how can we create that safe space that you can say, not taking the energy right now?
Yes, I know. I just reorganized one of my homes, and I had a specialist with the Marie Kondo method, and it's like, does this bring you joy?
Right.
How do you feel? How does this make you feel? And that's a person, a place, a thing, any kind of situation. It's not just your stuff, it's other stuff. And
Right.
so I think that's a really good thing to think about. Oh, I said yes, I was going to do this, but how did it make me feel? Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore because it doesn't make me feel so good. Do
Right.
you really want to go out to dinner if you're going to a group that's going to gossip? That's not for me. Not
Right.
so I want to go somewhere where we're talking about empowering things and helping each other and some motivational things, I guess, instead. And so I really think about the feeling before I say yes.
Right.
That's made a big difference for me. I loved the whole giving gratitude. I like thankful for all the people in my life and for being invited to certain things. I'm so grateful, but
Right.
then I have to go with, but does it bring me joy? Does it really uplift my family and I? Is it good for us, or is it not the best example that I want to set? My children are grown now, but I'm still setting an example every moment. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and so that's really important for me to think about, and it's just a simple, "Does this bring me joy?" Simple question.
That's so cool. That's exactly what I did. So, Sheila, I was a people pleaser addict.
Uh-huh.
So that's the one thing I had to do is figure out how do I change that. So I took a pebble and I put it in my pocket or put it in my bra strap. I made a commitment 3 times a day that I had to move that by saying no to something. And those questions
Mhm.
you said, it's like if you would ask me to do something, I had to stop and go, hold the pebble and be like, how does this feel for me? Does it really make me feel like something I want to do? And
Right.
if it wasn't, I'd be like, Sheila, that sounds like a great event or sounds like a great time. And just right now, it's just not a good fit for me. I appreciate
Mhm.
you asking. And at this time, I'm going to have to pass. And I said that just as excitedly as I would say yes, because we say yes so excited, but no, we're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't go. I don't want to. But the other thing that happened in that is I started going, I don't want to do that. But you know what? I think Sheila would be great at that. Let me give you Sheila's number and let you call Sheila. And so I started finding out that I was saying no joyfully. And as I was saying no, I was opening the doors to other people to say yes. And
Mhm.
then the aha moment was going, all those years I said yes, I had kept the door closed for other people. And so that was like made it so simple from then. I mean, there's still some things I'm not a perfect, addicts are addicts. We go through things and, there's still things I have to remind myself, no, you're doing that because you want to please somebody,
Mhm.
right? So there's still those challenges, but now I can do it with no problem. Like it's just like, nope, I can't do that. It's just like being asked to speak. There's so many opportunities to pay to speak. And I'm like, nope, I don't pay to speak.
Right.
So
No,
so
that's good.
yeah, so I mean, but it's so powerful when you can step into that word no.
Yes, and I think, on that same line, one of the things that I got was when I think of a pastor, priest, minister, rabbi, they are in charge of the religious aspect of the people that attend. However, when people come to them with problems, they have a list. They're like, okay, I'm going to refer you to this food bank. I'm going to refer you to this housing resource. I'm going to refer you to the therapist. Da, 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 da. They don't do everything. They pray for you and they refer out. And,
Yes,
and so, are we better than them? It's like, okay, I'm going to make sure you get the help you need, but that doesn't mean that I have to be the one solely responsible to get that help or give that help to a person.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. Totally
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah, and it's like that example in my life, that I got that years ago, and it just really flipped the switch of, "Oh, I don't have to be everything for everyone. It's all good."
Yep.
Yes, and
So
so that's just a relief, and that's again, you're modeling, yes, you're gonna make sure somebody's helped. You're gonna stop on the side of the road if it's somebody who's down or whatever, for sure, but you don't have to do it all.
right.
And that's an example for your children. Do you want your children to wait and do
Right.
everything for everyone and put themselves last?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And we need to start that young with our kids. Like we were saying earlier, teaching some of the parents are teaching these positive affirmation things and such. I think it's so powerful that we have to remember that our kids up until that 7 years old, they're watching everything we do at that young age. So start
Mm,
now, because if you don't, then we are creating, like you said, we're creating people pleasers that don't need to be doing that. We're creating people who are risk takers, and we're saying, okay, I come last, I'll put you first. So we need to continue to remember that our young kids are watching us.
that's right. That's right. And they don't do what we say to do. They do as we do.
Yep.
100%.
Yep, for sure.
Yes. So now what you have a new book coming out you had mentioned or
Yes, well, you and I need to talk about the book, Sheila, because I learned something new about you today. I did not know you had children of adoption as well.
yes.
So we are looking for families that want to share their story. There is a cost to be a part of the book, but it's called Beyond Skin Deep Stories of Intercultural Adoptions. So when Matthew was still with us, it was a story that we talked about. He was bullied by his peers. So some of those stories I did not realize till after he got out of high school.
Yeah.
Um, and so Matt was the only African American child in our family, adoption wise, and he was also the only one in his biological family. So he
Oh,
struggled with that. And
mhm.
then he struggled with, going into the store just to, I walked in 2 feet behind him. He's getting something in the looks and things like that. But then his friends bullying him because he had parents that were of white color. So him and I talked about sharing a story and empowering families that are thinking about adoptions, and here's some of the things that we went through. Here's some of the how we addressed it. So we are looking for. We have 3 so far. We're just starting to get the word out. We want 25 stories because Matt was 25 when he passed on July 25th. So we
Mhm.
want 25 stories of intercultural adoption. And so it could be, maybe you've adopted a child from Vietnam or, from China or Mexico, whatever that is. I have one family we're talking to right now. They're African American and they've adopted children that are Mexican, right?
Mhm.
So we're looking for that intercultural family that has adopted their child and to want to share their story and share the lessons, the hardships, the overcoming part of it. Like, let's be real about the challenges, and I've watched oh gosh, I can't think of, I think it's called The Red Table with Jada Pinkett Smith, and she had somebody on there that the young girl was adopted, and I believe she was a Black young girl, and she said, I wasn't in that environment around them, and I was like, wow, you never think about, maybe if you're going to adopt interculturally, put yourself near the community
Yeah.
of that child, right? And so I've had conversations with friends of mine who have recently adopted a baby, and they said the same thing. That was one of their concerns: is, do we live in somewhere that can support this intercultural child?
And it's so important to have that experience to be able to connect with all cultures and communities.
Right.
That's how you do everything in this world is to connect to people. And if you're not able to do that, that's very closed-minded, and then you're not going to be able to have much success in life either.
Exactly.
It's very important for our children, no matter what culture or race you are, to connect with all kinds of communities, religions, cultures, you name it, because
Right.
it's just very important. It makes all the difference. And I think it goes back also to mindset. So my Michael, when he was in elementary school, he was the shortest kid. Like the grandparents, they were like, maybe he needs shots or something because he's so short. They must pick on him terribly. He was the most popular kid. And later on, he had a growth spurt and got taller than the other people. Like, and I asked him, I said, Michael, when you were young, did it ever bother you that you were short? And he said, no, I just thought everybody else was oddly tall. It never occurred to him there was something wrong with him.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's just the way he lived his life. It was like, okay, well, that's good. I'm happy. And the love that comes out from that, he just loved and accepted everybody. But it came first that he loved and accepted himself.
Absolutely. That's the most powerful thing.
Yeah, that was really cool to hear because it was out of this innocent child that what a testimony to how you live your life. And what you think about it, how you feel is how you walk into a room and how you present yourself, and that energy
Right.
affects everyone in the room. So if somebody's down or angry and they walk in, it's like, whew, you can feel the energy shift.
For
So
sure.
when you're going somewhere or doing something, my mantra is, and all I'm doing, it's who I'm being, it's how I show up.
I
And so
love that.
that, who are you being when you wake up in the morning? Who am I going to be today, to in my business, in my community, for my family, and do that.
I
Make
love that.
Yes, that makes a huge difference.
I love what you brought up, mantras and affirmations. So I had a friend that I know through a mastermind, and I'm like, I love how she puts it. So we're flipping the script on affirmations, right? So people stand in front of the mirror and they go, I'm gonna have lots of money today, right? I'm gonna bring lots of money's gonna come my way. Well, do you really stand in front of the mirror and believe that? Like, come on, let's be real. But what if you change your thought and said, what actions am I going to do today that's going to help me learn to bring abundance into my life? Right.
Yes,
So then you're opening your mind going, okay, I know the money's not going to come like this. However, if I do this, I can grow in my income. I can grow my life. I can grow my health. What choices am I going to make today that allow me to continue the health journey I'm on? So we're not saying, I'm going to go eat cake today, but we're saying what choices are going to allow me. So you're allowing yourself to say, okay, it's okay to eat the salad, the whatever, the vegetables, but you're also not beating yourself up because you might slip and have that bite of cookie or cupcake or something, right? And that's one of the things when I just focus on just health and wellness, I would have clients come. I learned from the coach that I coached under not to be like her. You would come in if you had a piece of cake or something that wasn't on the plan. Well, why'd you have that? I was like, they're not kids, they're adults. They know why they had it because they just wanted to eat the daggone thing, right?
yeah,
So I was like, so tell me, when you were making that choice, what was happening in your mindset? Like, what were you thinking? What were some of the thoughts that were going through your head? And, they might say, it just looked good. I want to eat it. I'm like, okay, then that's okay. You ate it because it looks good and you did it. So how did it make you feel
didn't want it to go to waste.
right. And then we had this conversation about how did it feel afterwards. And that's why my coaching business grew from just being health and wellness to what it is today, to being, all encompassing, because I would have people go, Sheila, can my friend Sheila come sit with you because you're such a great coach. She doesn't need to do anything in this health journey, but she just needs somebody to talk to. You just listen so well. I was doing coffee or tea dates for about a month, and I was like going, I'm spending a lot of my time doing these for free. I need to figure this out. And
Right.
that's when I went and got my life coaching, my naturopathic certification. That's when I went to got my positive intelligence mental fitness certification. That's when I went on that journey.
Mhm. Yes. That's so important, and to be guided and listen to whatever that is so that you can help as many people as you can. And every single one that's listening has that ability. There's
Absolutely.
something about when you're in contribution, there's studies on this. You can't be depressed and in contribution at the same time. So when you're helping others, if you're feeling down, go help somebody else, and it'll just
Yep.
shift your whole day. You'll wake up in the morning knowing you are going to give. It's like a heart-based, it's heart work. And so you're in that business, and then blessings start to show up because you're in that right alignment with helping others. So like the mantra, who can I serve today? Instead of how much
Mm-hmm.
money can I make, how can I serve more people today? And
Right.
the money just shows up because people pay for services, sure. And you just keep serving. I've always been blessed, and sometimes it comes from a whole different area if I've served somebody because they just showed up in front of me and they needed something and I could help.
Yep.
And I have always been very blessed, but I've also given a lot, and it just makes me happy to do that. So it all works out.
It all works out for sure. I totally agree with you.
Yes. Now, for those listening in, how can people connect with you? Let's say if they wanted to get into your consulting or coaching program or get involved with the book you're creating.
So the book that I'm creating, the best way to do that, and really the best way to, if they want to just reach directly out to me, excuse me, is send it to hello@wsliving.com. That's hello, like I'm saying hi to you, at wsliving.com. And you can just put in the header, in the header, book, or you could put Shiro if you want to learn more about coaching. Just reach out to me that way. You can also go and download my free ebook. It's called Pearls with an S, pearlsebook.com. And there's some great tips on creating harmony in your life and the power of saying no to others and yes to yourself. So those are two great ways to reach out to us. And if you want to know about the retreats, that's so easy. Just go to wslivingretreats.com. So it's wslivingretreats.com. And then you can learn all about our retreats. We'll be posting up our next one for next year. So, and usually when you join our retreat, you get our Shiro League community along with that too.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. And to end this, I always ask at the end, if you could share, what would you tell your younger 10-year-old self? What advice would you give to yourself?
Wow. Considering what I've been through, like with the loss of our son, what would I tell my 10-year-old self? I think I would tell her, excuse me, I think I would tell her, no matter what comes your way, believe in yourself that you can get through anything.
Yes. Very good. And so true. Thank you.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
All right. And again, thank you, Pearl, for being a guest on the show. And for those tuning in, we'll be back after these messages. All right. Stay tuned.